In 1968, a young woman was found murdered in a quiet New Jersey neighborhood. There were no witnesses, no arrests, and no answers. For more than half a century, Mary Silvani's case sat in silence until modern science finally spoke. This is the story of who killed Mary Silvani, why he did it, and how the truth survived 51 years of darkness. Mary Silvani was 19 years old. She lived in Cresskill, Bergen County, New Jersey, a small suburban town where neighbors knew each other and violent crime was rare. Mary was described as friendly, responsible, and close to her family. She worked locally and was saving money, planning for a future like many young women of her generation. On the evening of November 6, 1968, Mary left her home to run a simple errand. She never came back. That evening, Mary was last seen near her home. When she failed to return, her family became concerned almost immediately. Hours passed. Then the night passed. The next day, November 7th, 1968, police made a discovery that would haunt the town for decades. Mary Silvani's body was found in a wooded area near Jefferson Avenue, not far from her home. She had been sexually assaulted and strangled. There were no signs of robbery. Her clothing suggested a violent struggle. This was not an accident. This was a deliberate act of violence. Bergen County investigators launched a full homicide investigation. They interviewed neighbors. They questioned people Mary knew. They looked at local men with criminal histories. But this was 1968. There was no DNA testing, no national criminal databases, no surveillance cameras. Physical evidence was collected, but technology could not unlock it. The case slowly went cold. Years passed, then decades. Mary's family lived with unanswered questions, knowing her killer was never held accountable. Whoever murdered Mary Silvani blended back into society. He was not a stranger passing through town. He was someone who knew the area, someone comfortable enough to attack and leave without being seen. That man was Gerald Rowland. But in 1968, police did not know that name. Rowland lived in New Jersey, had a history of violent sexual behavior, and would later be connected to other crimes. Yet for years, nothing tied him directly to Mary. As the years went on, Mary's case remained unsolved, but it was never forgotten. In the 2000s, cold case units began re-examining unsolved murders. Bergen County prosecutors reopened Mary Silvani's case and took a closer look at preserved evidence from the crime scene. What investigators had in 1968 was limited. What they had now was DNA science. Investigators extracted DNA from evidence collected decades earlier. Instead of running it through traditional databases, which produced no matches, they used genetic genealogy. This technique compares crime scene DNA with public genealogy records to identify relatives of the suspect. Slowly, a family tree formed. One name kept appearing: Gerald Rowland. Gerald Rowland was not an unknown criminal. He had a documented history of sexual assault, violence against women, aggressive behavior. He lived in New Jersey at the time of Mary Silvani's murder. He was physically capable, and his background fit the crime. Investigators collected DNA from Rowland's relatives to confirm the match. The results were conclusive. In 2019, more than 51 years after Mary Silvani was murdered, authorities officially identified Gerald Rowland as her killer. Rowland had died years earlier. He would never face trial, but the truth was now undeniable. Mary Silvani was not targeted for money. She was not part of a personal dispute. She was chosen because she was alone. Gerald Rowland was a sexual predator. Mary encountered him at the wrong place and the wrong time. His motive was sexual violence, followed by murder to silence her. This was not his only crime, only the one that went unpunished for the longest time. For Mary's family, the announcement brought mixed emotions. There was no arrest, no trial, no sentencing, but there was truth. Her killer was no longer a mystery. Her name was no longer attached to a question mark. Mary Silvani's case proves something important. Time does not erase evidence, and silence does not protect killers forever. Even after half a century, science can still speak for the dead. Mary Silvani was 19 years old. She deserved a full life. Her killer believed time would bury the truth. He was wrong. If this story stayed with you, support Truth Trove Stories by liking and subscribing. And tell us in the comments, do you believe every cold case will one day be solved? Because Mary Silvani's story shows, the past is never truly gone.